SummerSlam 2025 is officially off the air, and with 2 nights of dramatic action, join us now as we look at moments that weren't supposed to happen at WWE Summerslam 2025. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Number 1. Hey. Now, the botches for SummerSlam Night 1 started before the main show had even gone live on the air. Randomly during the kickoff, the live mics were cut out, and this led to an awkward moment of an unknown individual saying, hey, clearly to ask if the mics were back on. Thankfully, WWE's production team were able to act, and before fans knew it, the pre-show was back on track. Number 2. An uninterested lady. Now, WWE decided to do something new during the pre-show by interviewing fans at ringside. However, this didn't go to plan as WWE decided to interview the most disinterested woman on the planet. The woman didn't remotely care about being interviewed, and even WWE correspondent Peter Rosenberg would question the woman's nonchalant attitude. Whilst the lady evidently didn't give WWE the reactions they required, clips from her appearance quickly circulated on social media, with one fan even suggesting that the woman gets invited to every future Premium Live event. Number 3. Teleprompter. SummerSlam 2025 kicked off officially with Cardi B, who was the host of SummerSlam, cutting a promo. But seconds into the promo, it became apparent that the famous rapper was reading from a teleprompter. Cardi B couldn't have made this any more obvious, basically staring at a screen at ringside for 90% of a promo. Cardi obviously isn't from the WWE world, but she was surely paid enough to memorize a 90-second promo. Number 4. Miss Q. Pyro botches can be common in WWE, and SummerSlam 2025 was no exception. As Roman Reigns made his entrance on the ramp, the pyro went off at the wrong time. And then to make things even worse, the OTC1 did his signature taunt on the ring apron during his entrance, and the pyro didn't go off as planned. However, as Reigns entered the ring through the ropes, the pyro suddenly hit. You could see from Reigns' face that he was a little confused, and it definitely took away from his entrance. Number 5. A rough landing. Roman Reigns' trademark dive over the ring ropes was previously a key part of his moveset, and at SummerSlam he decided to bring it back. Sadly, it didn't land effectively during his match. Despite Reigns having both Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed there to catch him, Reigns overshot on the dive to have a horrific landing. WWE would even replay the landing, and it was an utter miracle that Reigns wasn't hurt. Thankfully, he was able to continue on, so it doesn't look like the former WWE champion has suffered any injury. Another botched dive occurred literally minutes after, and Reed would deliver a dive through the ropes, and similarly to Reigns, Reed would overshot the dive. Reed had a somewhat better landing, but it still looked incredibly rough. Number 6. Empty seats. And as Bron Breakker was standing triumphant on the announce table, the camera would show in clear view a huge section of seats curtained off. WWE had around 50,000 tickets sold for the event, but with the stadium being enormous, empty seats were certainly to be expected. WWE is just usually better at hiding them from viewers at home. Number 7. Exploder. The Sami Zayn Exploder suplex into the corner is usually a spot that signals the beginning of the end. However, for Zayn's match versus Karrion Kross, the move was somewhat botched. The wrestler taking the move is supposed to land in the corner, but on this occasion, Kross took a bump and missed the turnbuckle. It wasn't the best landing, and Michael Cole on commentary was even forced to address the landing as it looked incredibly underwhelming. Number 8. The Alabama Slam. The botches in the Tiffany Stratton vs Jade Cargill matchup were limited, yet one botch occurred as Stratton hit an Alabama Slam. Cargill didn't take the bump in the correct manner, and it looked insanely awkward. The botch was even called out by the commentary team as it was too big of a botch to ignore. The match was only around 7 minutes, so luckily for both women, before the crowd could process the botch, they had already transitioned into a new sequence. Number 9. Quick thinking. Speaking of Tiffany Stratton vs Jade Cargill, one of the central spots in the match was supposed to see a pin attempt broken by a rope break. Stratton would be on the receiving end of Cargill's finisher, but when Cargill leaned back, she noticed that Stratton's foot was nowhere near the rope. Cargill expertly helped move Stratton's leg into position without it being obvious. This was really well done by Cargill, as despite being rather inexperienced in the ring, she was able to make the spot work. Number 10. Stop and stare. A credit should be offered to Jelly Roll for taking a thunderous bump through the announce table. However, as Roll was waiting for Logan Paul to land on him from the top rope, Roll adjusted his position several times, and at one point, he was literally staring directly at Paul and virtually no-selling the prior action. This came down to poor planning on WWE's part, as Roll should have been directed to sell the spot and get into position prior to the spot going ahead. Number 11. Censoring. Now, even though WWE remains a PG product, they are now allowed to push the confines of PG in certain areas. When it comes to cursing, strict rules are in place, and WWE don't usually allow F-bombs unless pre-approved. During Logan Paul's heel antics in the tag match, the crowd would heckle Logan with chants of "F you Logan." WWE were a few seconds too late when it came to censoring the chants, so a few seconds of the raw unedited chant was heard on the live broadcast. This is likely to be subsequently edited both on the Netflix and Peacock versions of the PLE. Number 12. Loss of balance. A Gunther botching is a rarity, and it was apparently a loss of balance that caused the ring general to botch during his main event matchup versus CM Punk. Gunther would go on to stomp on Punk, and the spot was supposed to see Punk move out of the way, but when Punk remained in the same position, Gunther was forced to miss the Stomp of Doom. It was explained on commentary by Wade Barrett that Gunther lost his balance, but that wasn't the case. It was a mistake on the part of Punk, as he must have forgotten the spot and Gunther was forced to improvise at the last moment. Number 13. Did Punk tap? Well, whilst the Gunther vs CM Punk match received rave reviews from fans, some are questioning if Punk tapped out. As Punk was locked in the brutal sharpshooter, he appeared to tap on the mat, signaling a tap out. Well, with this not being addressed on commentary, it appeared that Punk wasn't meant to do that particular spot, and he may have just been planning the next spot, which would have seen him escape the submission hold. Number 14. Slip up. Io Sky and Rhea Ripley are slowly becoming wrestling soulmates, and as Sky was about to slip from the ring ropes, Ripley managed to support her to make the spot work. Due to this spot involving a top rope riptide, it was vital that the spot went smoothly, and thankfully after some improvisation, it was able to go ahead without a hitch. Number 15. Missed the ladder. The TLC matches are never plain sailing, and there was a major botch within the first few minutes. The Street Profits would attempt to backdrop Joe Gacy onto a prone ladder, but they completely missed. On commentary, it was explained that the missed move saved Gacy from injury, which was certainly a unique way to explain the botch. Number 16. Worst landing ever. Candice LeRae took arguably the biggest bump in recent memory during the TLC matchup. LeRae would go crashing through a ladder on the outside, and the issue was that LeRae landed sideways with the arm sticking out. It was a hideous landing, and there was immediate concern that LeRae was legitimately injured. This was seen thanks to the sheer amount of medical personnel who ran to her aid. Now, as things stand, there's been no concrete news on whether LeRae was actually injured. Number 17. Wrong place, wrong time. A ringside photographer was in the wrong place at the wrong time during the Becky Lynch vs Lara Valkyria bout. As Valkyria would throw Lynch into the barricade, the poor photographer took all the force as he was out of position. This forced Valkyria to directly apologize to the individual in a rare out-of-character moment. The WWE should be careful, as we've recently seen with AEW, that these types of incidents can lead to lawsuits down the road, which obviously WWE will want to fully avoid. Number 18. Zip tie blunder. The main story of the aforementioned match focused on Valkyria having her hands zip tied. The problem was that when Valkyria delivered a belly-to-belly on Lynch, her hands came out of the zip ties. In a confusing moment, Michael Cole tried to cover for the botch, but Valkyria would visibly and forcibly put her hands back into the ties. To make this worse, the camera would zoom in on her doing this, so the illusion was completely shattered. In subsequent spots, Valkyria could get the ties tied again, so she basically had to pretend that the ties were keeping her hands in place, when in reality, she could have just removed them at any time. Number 19. Handcuff malfunction. The steel cage match between Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu was supposed to include a spot where Fatu saw his wrist handcuffed to the top of the cage. The drama of the spot would have seen Fatu break the handcuffs, however the next time the camera was on Fatu, he was mysteriously out of the handcuffs. In a unique moment, Michael Cole revealed that WWE had an alternative angle which was able to show how Fatu got out of the situation. Number 20. Wrestlemania. Michael Cole is prone to the occasional slip-up on commentary, and during the Dominic Mysterio vs AJ Styles match, Cole would claim that Mysterio won the Intercontinental title at SummerSlam before quickly realizing that he was incorrect and proceeded to correct himself to say Wrestlemania. And the final 3? Just as John Cena and Cody Rhodes were getting their match started, Michael Cole boldly declared that Cena and Rhodes were part of the final 2 of the 2025 Rumble, but Cole then corrected himself to say the final 3, but even this was incorrect. Rhodes was the reigning WWE champion at the time and wasn't even in the Rumble match. But there you have it, folks, all the moments that weren't supposed to happen at SummerSlam 2025. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.